Hey everyone. Okay, in this video, let's talk about Ralph Breaks the Internet. So you guys have, I'm sure you've all seen it. You know, the princess pajama party scene for Ralph Breaks the Internet. It's so meta, so self-aware. They're all poking jokes at themselves in the Disney fairy tale. And I just want to give you my take, my opinion on this particular scene and the overall state of the Walt Disney Animation Studios. Now, I'm not a fan. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you know I'm not a fan of this self-aware, meta, really trendy thing that's going on right now with Walt Disney Animation. And so obviously I'm not a fan of this princess scene. Yeah, you know, some of it's funny, you know, but I feel like they're cheap laughs. They're kind of eroding their brand and their studio for the cheap laugh, and I think that's honestly not a good decision to do. This studio all but invented the art form of animation. You know, I mean, this is a legendary, iconic studio that was founded by Walt Disney, and they used to make films that really took pride in that name. You know, when you look at even like more modern stuff like Tangled or Beauty and the Beast or Little Mermaid or Lion King, you know, they took the legacy of Walt Disney very seriously, but they brought that legacy to new audiences, and they did it in a quality way. You know, they didn't cheapen themselves or degrade themselves to do that. These new films are the opposite of that. You know, Ralph Breaks the Internet is basically Disney saying, hey, look, you know what? Illumination makes a ton of money on the Minions. Let's go that route. Let's do the Disney version of the Minions. Let's do the Disney version of Shrek. And I'm against that. I'm 1000% against that. I think Disney needs to do Disney. Okay, that doesn't mean that you rest on your laurels, and it doesn't mean that you don't move forward. But what it means is that you take what the studio was built on and you try to keep one foot, you know, in the past, and then you move forward at the same time. And I think a perfect balance of that was the Renaissance era with Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid and Lion King. You know, they really found that perfect balance. These new films do not find balance. They are Disney's version of DreamWorks and Illumination films, okay? And this princess scene is the epitome of that. It's cheap laugh after cheap laugh at the expense of the image and the brand, okay? These kind of films, these trendy, hip, meta films, do not age well. This animation studio is generational. These films are supposed to live on. Your kids are going to show their kids these movies, and their kids will show their kids these movies. But when you make films that are just for today's audience, when you have that narrow scope of just for today, you lose that generational aspect. Okay, there's a reason why movies like The Little Mermaid, okay, have outlasted movies like Oliver and Company. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. Little Mermaid was made around the same era as Oliver and Company, but has outlasted Oliver and Company. Why? Because Little Mermaid, while it was created in the 80s, doesn't mention and reference the 80s a million times in the film. So you can watch The Little Mermaid in 2018 or 2019 or 2020 or whatever, and it still makes sense to you. Oliver and Company, however, did the opposite. It's full of 80s music and 80s references. It screams the 80s. So when you watch it now, it feels very dated and unrelatable, right? This is something that I see happening with like movies like Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet. You know, these movies are dating themselves. Look how much the internet has changed in 10 years. You know, 10 or 15 years ago, AOL Instant Messenger was still around. MySpace was still around. So, you know, imagine now, you know, if they made a movie, let's say they made Wreck-It Ralph 2 15 years ago. It would have been full of MySpace jokes and AOL Instant Messenger jokes. How relevant and how much sense would that movie make now? Most kids wouldn't even get it. That's exactly what's going to happen with Ralph Breaks the Internet in 10 or 15 years from now, when there is no Twitter or there is no Google or whatever it is. It's going to feel very dated. Okay, these movies are going to date themselves so poorly, and I'm really disappointed in the direction that Disney has taken with them. Now, there is a glimmer of hope in all of this, and that's, you know, John Lasseter is essentially leaving. He's out the door, okay? He'll be gone in January. And Jennifer Lee, who did Frozen, a film that I absolutely love and adore, is taking over the studio. So I'm hoping they go in a more traditional, timeless, you know, approach going forward with their films. I'm not saying every film has to be a fairy tale. I don't want every film to be a fairy tale. I just want Disney to go into these films with the mindset that, you know, in 20 years, our audience is still going to be able to watch this. That's all I want them to do. It doesn't have to be a fairy tale. Lion King was not a fairy tale, but it's timeless in the way they told the story. Just do things with the mindset of how is it going to play out for generations going forward, and that's something they're not doing right now. This princess scene and the Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet shows that. It's for the quick buck. We're going to get cheap laughs for today, and who cares if anyone really likes the movie in 20 or 30 years? Well, for this animation studio and how important this studio is, it matters. It does matter. This is a generational studio. But what do you guys think on this whole topic? Am I being way too harsh on the movie? Am I being way too harsh on Disney Animation? What are your thoughts on this? I do content on Disney, Pixar, Marvel all the time. If you're on Twitter, please consider following me at OrangeGrow55. And as always, have a wonderful day.